Bruce Lee exploded onto American cinema screens in August 1973 in Enter the Dragon. For many Asian Americans, he was a revelation, the first Asian hero they had ever seen on the screen.
Usually, you would be seeing white actors playing Asian roles, like Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
You're disturbing me!
So the appearance of Bruce Lee was quite revolutionary because people of the actual race were playing that race. He brought Asian faces to American cinema.
For many Asian people around the world, Bruce Lee became an instant role model.
We connected to him because he was the first one that came out and said, look, I'm Chinese, I have yellow skin, you know, I can do everything else everybody else can. For myself, growing up in America, I can totally relate to him. You know, coming to America as an immigrant, being a minority in a dominant white world, and the things that he wanted to achieve in life. I believe that's why other minority races, they can relate to that, especially the urban minorities. They can feel the same passion that Bruce Lee wanted to bring for his own race.
Before Bruce Lee, the majority of Asian characters in Western films were limited to being evil masterminds like Fu Manchu, subservient laborers, or comic fools.
Bruce Lee really changed the way Asian actors are seen in the West, and I think that's something you can give him a lot of credit for. For Chinese people around the world, and also for minorities around the world living anywhere where they're sort of oppressed, beaten down, have a crummy job. This was huge. This was someone with non-white skin who was not Caucasian. This was someone standing up and sticking up for themselves.
And it wasn't just Asians who connected with this new non-white hero.
He was a hero for an entire culture that had no heroes. Bruce came along in Kato. It was the first time that you've seen an Asian guy in control.
Everything on the table where we can all see it.
As an African American, that was the first time I saw someone who seemed darker to me doing something like that. Like I had never seen that before. It was the first hero that I ever saw that wasn't a white person.
Prior to making his 4 kung fu films, Bruce Lee was cast as the crime-fighting chauffeur, Kato, in the 1966 TV series, The Green Hornet.
Protect the rights and lives of decent citizens, rides the Green Hornet.
He got the part after being spotted at a karate tournament in California.
Test X2, take 1, speed.
It was this screen test that was to lead to his first U.S. television role.
My last name is Lee, Bruce Lee.
It was also Bruce Lee's first chance to demonstrate his formidable kung fu skills on screen.
Straight at the groin, or come up. Or, if I can back up a little bit, start back from here, and then come back. All right, it kind of worked.
While playing Kato, Bruce Lee experienced at firsthand the attitudes that had consigned Asian actors to cliched or minor roles.
He was filming The Green Hornet, and he was still in his Kato uniform. And the producers came out and said, boy, he said, where's your car? He said, you need to go pick up this other actress right now. He said, excuse me, boy? And so Thordis, who's an actress, says, do you know who he is? He said, this is Bruce Lee. He plays Kato in The Green Hornet. And they just shunned him away like it was no big deal. So this was the mentality at that time. An Asian man in a chauffeur uniform, he's just a servant, you know? What Bruce Lee told Thordis Brand next kind of dictated the way his whole philosophy was. She said, does that bother you? And he said, does it bother me? He said, if I let it bother me, I wouldn't be Bruce Lee.
But Bruce Lee he was. And after making only a handful of screen appearances, he changed the way Asians would be portrayed on screen forever.
One man, not a whole group of people, but one guy, turned the image of a Chinese guy from a little guy with buck teeth and wire-rimmed glasses who's an accountant to the image of a fighting philosopher, a peaceful warrior.
The film that propelled this fighting philosopher into the public's consciousness was Enter the Dragon. It was the fourth and last film Bruce Lee made, and the first co-production between a Hollywood and an Asian film company.
Enter the Dragon is the movie that really put Bruce Lee on the world stage. And the reason for that is purely it's in English. A lot of people saw a Bruce Lee movie who otherwise would not have done so. But you look at the movie as a whole, the performances, the writing, the cinematography, everything is great about Enter the Dragon. And Bruce Lee's in a great movie. It's not just a haphazard picture with Bruce Lee elevating it. So a lot of the critics were wrong about Enter the Dragon, and over time it's been reappraised as an extraordinary film, as it is.
Enter the Dragon was also the first martial arts film with mass cultural appeal.
Culturally, it spoke to everybody. You know, you had Jim Kelly in there representing African Americans. You had John Saxon representing Europeans. And you had Bruce representing Asia. So culturally, I mean, it was well-rounded.
But an English-language martial arts film had never been made. So Bruce Lee and his Hollywood partners had no idea if anyone in the West would care. It was unique and very risky.
It was a hugely stressful time for Bruce because he wanted so much for it to be a wonderful, fabulous entry for him into the American film market. He was very perfectionist about how he wanted the script to be and who he wanted to be in it and the choreography of the fight scenes and all that. So he was involved in every aspect of that film.
Actor John Saxon had no idea of the film's impact until the premiere.
I plan to win it back.
I was in the back of a limo and peered out the window and I saw a line of people. And the car kept moving and I kept seeing that the line was extended and extended and extended. And finally, passing the block, I saw that it went down the street. And I said, what the hell's going on there? They said, that's your film. I said, my film? And it hit me.
The film was a phenomenal success, taking in $3 million in the U.S. in its first 7 weeks. Costing less than $1 million and generating $200 million, Bruce Lee's breakthrough film went on to become one of the most commercially successful films ever made. Enter the Dragon was not just a financial success. It also became a cultural phenomenon. When it opened in 1973, it started a craze for a new form of martial arts known as Kung Fu in Cantonese, but Kung Fu to everyone else.
After Enter the Dragon, everybody wanted to be a Bruce Lee. And you had a martial arts studio opening up almost on every corner. On the East Coast, the West Coast, around the world, everybody wanted to be a Bruce Lee. They were seeking that. They wanted to be that.
My wife's brother was opening up a martial arts gym in Knoxville, Tennessee. So I went there to talk. There were their mother's children with 5-year-olds and so on, bringing these 5-year-old girls as well to me. This is Mr. Saxon using that thing. I said, yes, that's right, that's right. Did your mother make you come here? What made you come here and do this? I saw Enter the Dragon.
Soon everybody was Kung Fu fighting across the globe, and pop stars from Donny Osmond to the king of rock and roll himself were showing off their Kung Fu kicks.
Without Bruce Lee and Enter the Dragon, it might have been years and years and years, and maybe not at all, that martial arts as a genre would have become available.
Bruce intellectualized the art form, and his persona in films brought it to the world. It brought martial arts to the world, it brought Kung Fu to the world, but it also brought Asian cinema to the world.
As well as introducing the world to Kung Fu, Bruce Lee also introduced another new word to the West, the name of a little-known Asian weapon called the nunchuck.
His use of weaponry and his skill with the weaponry, I mean, you can see that the guy didn't, it wasn't tricks. It wasn't just, okay, camera tricks. Would probably spend hundreds and thousands of hours practicing with the nunchucks, and he barely blinked. I mean, he was a master over the medium. and over his artistry.
It looked like he was almost breakdancing with the nunchucks that rolled around on the floor, hitting everyone's ankles with the nunchucks.
Bruce Lee was really ahead of his time in terms of figuring out how to create unique, iconic emblems or things that would be uniquely Bruce Lee. What he did was he chose as his signature weapon the Seonjikwan, the nunchaku. So as soon as you see those two, that weapon, you think Bruce Lee.
The kung fu Bruce Lee demonstrated on screen was all about realism, much like his own creation known as Jeet Kune Do. It was a revolutionary approach to fighting that would change the world of martial arts.